Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sharon Bown, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Meng Wang. 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Vivian Harry Carson. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that continue to serve, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and by Australian Navy cadets from Waratah Flotilla. If you are able, would you now please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Those who are able to do so, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Vivian Harry Carson. Vivian Carson was born in 1893 in Greenup, Western Australia. He was the eldest of 5 children, born to draper Henry Carson and his wife Mary. Vivian grew up in Geraldine and was educated at the local state school, where he was an active member of the cadets. In 1905, Carson's parents purchased 2,000 acres of land near Una, and he moved with them to help them run the property. He was still working on the family farm when the First World War broke out in 1914. Vivian Carson enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 31st of July 1916. He was assigned to reinforcements of the 16th Infantry Battalion with the rank of private and commenced a short period of training in Australia. He embarked for active service in November that year, sailing from Fremantle on the troop ship Argyleshire. After several weeks at sea, Private Carson arrived in England, disembarking in Devonport in early January 1917. He continued training alongside other new recruits until the end of February, at which point he made his way to the Western Front. Shortly after his arrival, he was transferred to the ranks of the 32nd Battalion, joining his new unit at the front at the start of April. Over the weeks which followed, Carson and his comrades were involved in the pursuit of the enemy following the German withdrawal to the Hindenburg Line. The battalion was moved to Belgium later that year, taking up positions around Ypres salient. During this period, Carson was briefly hospitalised with trench fever, but returned to his unit in time to take part in the attack on enemy positions at Polygon Wood in September. Carson's battalion was not involved in any further major battles for the rest of the year. The men instead spent time alternating between stints at the front line and training in the rear areas. After seeing out a cold winter in Belgium, Carson was granted a week's leave to Paris in January, before being granted additional leave to England a month later. He returned from England at the end of February 1918, arriving in the midst of the enemy's spring offensive. This saw German forces launch a series of heavy attacks along the Allies' front line, hoping to force a breakthrough and end the war. During the fighting to stem the enemy's advance, Carson's younger brother, Cecil, was killed in action. Upon receiving the news, Carson wrote home to his parents. "I know the shock to you both will be great, as it must ever be to parents. But do not allow your grief to overcome you, but try to be fortified by the knowledge that he died a soldier's death. This is a terrible war, and any of us are likely to be called upon at any time to make the greatest sacrifice, the sacrifice of our life for our country and our loved ones against the detestable Hun. We are not having a bad time. Fritz goes mad now and then and throws a lot of stuff about, but we've been lucky so far. I don't think it will be long before this cruel war is over. The Hun is just about on his last legs." By June of 1918, Carson and his comrades were in the thick of fighting, serving in the front line as the German forces continued pushing for a breakthrough. The enemy carried out a raid on the 16th of June, and the 32nd Battalion managed to fight off the attack. The following day, Carson and his comrades were put to work fortifying their defences, digging deeper trenches for their protection. As they were doing so, the enemy opened up with machine gun fire on the working parties. Among the dead was Private Vivian Carson. He was 25 years old. In the years after the First World War, Carson's final resting place was lost. Today, he is instead commemorated at the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux, among many of those who have known grave. His name is listed on the honour roll on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who have died serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Vivian Harry Carson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.